There's a moment right when the lights dim, the screen flickers, and the first notes of a familiar theme play when magic breathes into a room. Millions of us grew up with it, running through the corridors of Hogwarts, whispering spells under our breath, picking our house, learning our Patronus. The world of Harry Potter was more than a story. It was salvation, a comfort, a childhood escape that stayed with us into adulthood. But tonight, we pull back the curtain. This isn't a story about spells or sorting hats. It's about the price of fame, the pressure behind the smiles, and the unraveling of someone once adored by millions. Because when the lights came back on one beloved Harry Potter star found themselves on the outside looking in, not because of what they did on screen, but off. This is the untold story of being cancelled and the painful truth behind one actor's fall from grace. At the height of its power, the Harry Potter franchise wasn't just a movie series, it was a cultural phenomenon. With every sequel, it dominated the box office and etched itself deeper into global consciousness. Behind the scenes, its young breakout stars became instant celebrities, icons overnight. Their faces plastered across magazine covers, lunchboxes, even theme parks. For some, the transition into fame was magical. For others, it was something far more complicated. And for one actor, someone known not just for their character, but for their sharp wit and love from fans, that spell eventually broke. They weren't the lead, necessarily, but they were unforgettable. A fan favorite, someone who brought humor, heart, or even chaos to the story, depending on who you asked. They grew up alongside us. We watched them change physically, emotionally, as the films evolved. And maybe we hoped that, in some quiet corner of the world, they were still the sweet, scrappy Hogwarts student we knew them to be. But reality, as always, is messier, and cancel culture doesn't care who you used to be. It didn't happen all at once. It never does. It started with rumors, as it always does in the digital age. A tweet here, a controversial quote there. Then an old interview resurfaced, taken out of context. Or perhaps not taken out of context at all. The internet did what it does best. It exploded. Fans who once posted fan art and tribute videos now quoted receipts. Live streams dissected every word they had said. Apology statements were demanded, and when one came, it was either too late, too vague, or not enough. Some defended them. Others unfollowed instantly. And somewhere in the middle, that star, who once stood on stage basking in applause, felt the spotlight shrank. Their voice was soft, quieter than before. No longer projecting to a stadium, but speaking directly, intimately. It was in that moment, through a podcast episode, not meant to go viral, that they admitted it. I've been canceled. And honestly, I didn't see it coming. It wasn't an angry rant. There were no tears. Just honesty, raw. Tired, honest. Because what do you do when the world you gave your childhood to no longer wants you in it? Rewind the clock. Back to an ordinary audition room in London. Over 2 decades ago, they were just a kid. Freckles, maybe. Nervous hands. A mother waiting outside the door. They didn't think they'd get the part, but they did. And overnight, their life transformed. Red carpets, brand deals, set tutors, being homeschooled in between scenes because the wizarding world didn't pause for math class. It was magical, but it never really went back to normal. What happens to a child star once the applause fades? Many of the cast carved new paths, became indie darlings, activists, stage performers. But not everyone found that easy. For this actor, the transition was more turbulent. Inappropriate jokes, questionable tweets, the kind of edgy humor that, once cool in a certain online circle, aged poorly in the light of social progress. The pain wasn't just in the backlash, it was in realizing how much they hadn't grown. They had built a version of themselves, for the public funny, controversial, brazen. But privately, they were struggling with relevance, with alcohol, with silence. Being canceled isn't one moment. It's 1,000 tiny cuts. It's the brand deal that doesn't renew, the agency that quietly drops you, the movie role that goes in a different direction. It's the inbox filled not with opportunities, but with strangers tearing down your identity. It's navigating the weight of your past while trying to build a future and not knowing which parts of yourself. World is still allowed to forgive, but somewhere in that storm of shame comes clarity. And for this actor, it finally came when everything else was gone. They entered therapy, quietly, no press release, no big dramatic apology. They stopped drinking, took responsibility, apologized not just to the public, but to people privately behind the scenes, those they'd hurt or let down, and they disappeared for a while. Not canceled, disappeared, but intentionally stepped away. To reflect, to learn what it meant to grow when no cameras were watching. Years ago, they had traveled with security between film sets. Now, they walked freely down the street, unnoticed. It was painful, but maybe it was finally peaceful. People don't want to hear you say sorry. They want to see what you do with it. I get that now. It wasn't a comeback. There was no grand campaign to save face. Just a different version of themselves stepping forward. Slowly, one clearer on who they were and who they weren't. Cancel culture is complicated. Sometimes it holds power to account. Other times it becomes something darker, a digital purge without nuance, without context, without redemption. But what happens when someone owns it? Not in a PR statement, but in their life. What happens when a Harry Potter star adored as a child, broken as an adult, refuses to explain away their behavior, and Instia just starts walking the long road back? The wizarding world is built on second chances, of fighting for what's right, of believing people can change. Maybe we should remember that the actors who brought that world to life are human too. Flawed, fumbling, learning in public. And maybe, just maybe, worth forgiving if they're willing to truly begin again. Because behind every headline, every scandal, every fall from grace, there's a person. Alone, trying. Still, and sometimes, that's the most powerful magic of all. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more deeply human stories from the world of fame, fortune, and everything in between. Until next time.